Hi, I'm Cheryl Statz, and I'd like to welcome Deb Patterson, Democratic nominee for Senate District 10. Hello, Deb. Welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, you're welcome. Tell us at least 3 of your positions that would encourage a senior or person with disabilities to vote for you.
Well, as a longtime advocate through my work as the director of an international health organization, which primarily worked with seniors and people with disabilities, I'm adamant that we need access to affordable, quality health care for all. Medicare has become much more expensive due to the rising unregulated costs of many pharmaceuticals, and we need transparency in healthcare financing and pharmaceutical costs. Second, I'm the mom of a young adult daughter who experiences intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm concerned that we need to stand up to protect seniors and people with disabilities from physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and financial abuse. And finally, I want to help work to help seniors and people with disabilities have the financial security they need. Unlike the incumbent who voted against establishing the Oregon Saves program, I would stand for programs that help people save for retirement, find safe housing that's affordable, and secure meaningful living wage work at any age if they would like to be employed in the community. Of course, a huge part of financial security is not worrying about the costs of health care, which brings me right back to my most important issue in this campaign.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Oregon Project Independence is a program that's kept seniors and people with disabilities in their own home, and yet every year proposed funding for OPI is significantly cut. What will you do to ensure and protect funding for this cost-effective program?
Well, as you mentioned, Oregon Project Independence is a great program, and the incumbent against whom I'm running was instrumental in launching it. I give her kudos for that, but I believe that we must also fund it, as you said. It's a very cost-effective program, and I think that large corporations should pay their fair share in supporting our communities from early childhood education through helping seniors. So I support a sector-based gross receipts tax bill, which would require large corporations with more than $2 million in gross receipts to pay a portion of those receipts based on their industry sector toward the general fund from which funding for the Oregon Project Independence could be taken. Because this bill would be sector-based, large agricultural entities, for example, would pay a different corporate tax rate than service industries or manufacturing or healthcare, but smaller family businesses would see their tax rate reduced to a flat annual fee, which is proposed to be less than what most small family businesses already pay. That would help pay for this program, which is so important.
Thank you. What will you do on a state level so that seniors and people with disabilities no longer face a lack of accessible and affordable housing?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my answer to the very first question, financial security is a major issue for seniors and people with disabilities, and health care and access to housing are 2 of the largest financial stressors. I will work to seek additional federal funding for affordable housing, and I will work with city and county level leaders as well as other state leaders to identify opportunities to develop more affordable housing options here. I'm also supportive of legislation that's fair to both renters and landlords related to rent increase and lease terms. People on fixed incomes are at growing risk of losing their homes, and we must find creative ways to develop more housing for seniors and people with disabilities.
Thank you. How would you prioritize state funding, including funding that is matched with federal funds, for services to an increasing senior and people with disabilities population?
Yeah, well, I would prioritize state funding for seniors and people with disabilities this way. First, I would invest in affordable, accessible senior housing and housing for people with disabilities in partnership with HUD, such as the Retirement Research Foundation does in their programs across the country. There's no programs with the Retirement Research Foundation here. I think we could start some. I think that would be awesome. Secondly, I believe we need to invest, as I said earlier, in Oregon Project Independence to help people live in their homes and save thousands of dollars in state funding. Then finally, I think we need to invest in congregate and home-based meal programs. We already do that a great deal, but we know that the dollars that we put into helping people stay healthy through having enough food to eat helps save healthcare costs later. Food insecurity costs people about 25% more in healthcare per year than if they're able to have enough food to eat. So it's a great investment.
Yes, it is. Thank you. How will your experience shape the work you will do on behalf of seniors and people with disabilities?
Well, I've spent the last 25 years primarily working with seniors and people with disabilities. I've been, as I mentioned, the executive director of an international health organization and the mom of a special needs daughter. And so I've also been on the board of one of the largest providers for community-based health and human services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the Midwest. And I'm serving on the Nursing Home Administrators Board and the Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. So in my church, where I'm a congregational minister, we have a memory cafe for several dozen community members. We do all kinds of outreach for seniors, have visiting programs, health committees. This has been my life, literally, at home, at work, professionally for 20 years, and I plan to continue this deep and personal commitment to seniors and people with disabilities. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Well, thank you. And this is Deb Patterson, Democratic candidate for Senate and District 10.